What if I told you that something you do every single day, something that feels completely normal, something that even feels loving, is slowly damaging your dog's brain? Not in a dramatic movie villain kind of way, but in a real, scientific, psychological way that changes how your dog thinks, feels, and behaves. And the scary part is, most dog owners have no idea it's happening. They keep doing it, day after day, week after week. And then one day, they look at their dog and wonder, why is he like this? Why does he get so anxious? Why does he ignore me sometimes and cling to me other times? Why does he misbehave even though I love him so much? That answer is coming, but first I need you to understand something about how your dog's brain actually works. Because once you see it, you will never look at your dog the same way again. Dogs are not just cute, fluffy animals that eat, sleep, and play. They are incredibly complex psychological creatures. They process emotions. They feel stress. They experience something very close to what we would call confusion, frustration, and even despair. And their brains, much like human brains, are shaped by their experiences. Every interaction you have with your dog is literally wiring their brain. Every moment, every day. The question is, are you wiring it in a healthy direction or a damaging one? Now here is where it gets interesting. The mistake I am talking about is not something unusual. It is not something only bad dog owners do. In fact, the more you love your dog, the more likely you are doing it. Because it comes from a place of affection. It comes from wanting your dog to be happy. And that is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you come home after a long day at work. You open the door and your dog goes absolutely crazy. Tail wagging, jumping, spinning in circles, barking with joy. And what do? You get excited right back. You drop your bag, you kneel down, you talk in that high-pitched voice. You pet them all over. You match their energy completely. It feels amazing. It feels like pure love. And your dog seems thrilled. But here is the thing. That moment, that beautiful, loving moment, might be one of the most psychologically damaging things you do to your dog. And I know that sounds harsh. I know that feels wrong. But stay with me, because this is where the science of dog psychology gets fascinating. Dogs do not experience the world the way we do. They do not have the same emotional regulation systems that humans have. When a dog's brain gets flooded with excitement, with intense stimulation, with chaotic emotional energy, their nervous system goes into a kind of overdrive. And when this happens repeatedly, when the brain keeps getting trained to spike into that intense state, it starts changing how the dog processes everything. Not just greetings. Everything. Think of it like this. Imagine you trained a child to run at full sprint every single morning the moment they woke up. Every day, the first thing they do is sprint. What happens to that child's body over time? Their baseline state shifts. Their body starts to expect that sprint. It starts preparing for it before it even happens. The child becomes restless, hyperactive, unable to sit still, unable to focus, because their system has been wired to always expect that explosion of intensity. That is what is happening inside your dog's brain when you constantly reinforce overexcitement. Their baseline emotional state shifts. Their nervous system starts living in a permanently elevated state. And that is where the real problems begin. But that is not the real reason this is so damaging. The deeper issue, the one that most people never talk about, goes even further than excitement levels. It has to do with something called emotional leadership, and this is where things get really important. Dogs are social animals. They evolved living in groups with a clear social structure, not because they are aggressive or dominant in the old-fashioned Hollywood way that trainers used to talk about, but because they are deeply wired to look for emotional cues from the beings they trust. They watch you constantly, not just when you are training them, all the time. They are reading your body, language, your energy, your emotional state, and they use what they observe to decide how they should feel. When you are calm, they feel calm. When you are nervous, they feel nervous. When you are confident and stable, They feel safe. This is one of the most important psychological facts about dogs, and almost nobody talks about it enough. Your dog is not just responding to the world around them. They are responding to you. You are their emotional compass. You are their guide for how to interpret everything that happens in their life. So here is what happens when you constantly respond to your dog with intense, unregulated emotion. Whether that is wild excitement during greetings, panicked energy, when they do something wrong, baby talk every 5 minutes, or anxious hovering when they seem unsure. What happens is that your dog's emotional compass gets broken. They look to you for stability, and they find chaos. They look to you for calm guidance, and they find someone who is just as emotionally reactive as they are. And when that happens, something shifts inside the dog's mind. A kind of invisible anxiety starts to settle in. Not because anything bad has happened to them, but because they cannot find that steady, reliable emotional anchor they are biologically wired to need. And this is where things get dangerous, because a dog without a stable emotional anchor does not just become slightly anxious. Over time, that anxiety starts to express itself in all kinds of behaviors that confuse and frustrate their owners. Excessive barking, destructive chewing, leash reactivity, separation anxiety, random aggression, resource guarding, obsessive behaviors. These things look like discipline problems. They look like the dog is being stubborn or bad or disobedient. But what they actually are, at the root level, is a dog whose nervous system has been chronically dysregulated. A dog whose brain never learned how to settle. A dog who is desperately searching for emotional stability and cannot find it. And here is the part that might sting a little. In many cases, the dog's owner is unknowingly the source of that instability, not out of cruelty, not out of negligence, out of love, out of the very human desire to connect emotionally with their pet. But love, in the wrong form, at the wrong moment, delivered in the wrong energy, can actually create psychological harm in dogs. And that is the truth that most dog training books and YouTube videos never tell you plainly. Now, what most dog owners do not realize is that this does not just affect your dog's mood. It affects their cognitive function, their ability to learn, their ability to listen, their ability to make calm decisions. When a dog's brain is running in that elevated, dysregulated state, the parts of their brain responsible for learning and problem-solving get suppressed. You know how it is hard to study or think clearly when you are stressed or anxious? Dogs experience something very similar. A dog in a chronically elevated emotional state is a dog whose brain is not fully available for learning, which means all the training in the world will have limited effect if you have not first addressed this deeper neurological issue. Here is a real example that might sound familiar. Someone I spoke with had a dog, a Labrador named Max, who was incredibly smart but completely uncontrollable. They had tried 3 different trainers. They had watched every video. They had bought every tool. And nothing worked long term. Max would learn a command in training, then forget it completely the moment real life happened. The moment guests arrived, the moment they went outside, the moment anything exciting occurred, and they were at their wits' end. They thought the dog was just stubborn, that he was choosing not to listen. But when I looked at the full picture of how they lived with Max, I saw something very different. Every morning, Max woke up to wild, excited greetings. Every mistake was met with loud, frustrated reactions. Every good moment was celebrated with high-pitched squealing and jumping around. Max never experienced a quiet, calm, settled moment with his owner. Every interaction was emotionally intense, and Max's brain had learned that this was normal. This was baseline. This was life. The fix was not a new command. It was not a different training method. The fix was teaching the owner how to be emotionally still, how to greet Max calmly, how to correct calmly, how to celebrate in a way that did not spike the nervous system. Within 3 weeks of making those changes, and only those changes, Max began to settle. He began to listen. He began to actually retain his training. Because for the first time, his brain was in a state where learning was possible. This is the power of understanding dog psychology at a deep level. It is not about commands. It is not about treats or tools. It is about the emotional environment you create for your dog every single day. And if that environment is chaotic, you can train forever and still never reach your dog. So now you might be wondering, okay, what is the actual solution? And the answer is something I call emotional leadership. It means becoming the calm, stable presence your dog's brain is desperately searching for. It sounds simple. It is not always easy, because it requires you to manage your own emotions in your dog's presence. It requires you to stop treating every interaction as a chance to express maximum affection through maximum energy. When you come home, try something different. Instead of matching your dog's excitement and escalating it, walk in calmly. Do not ignore your dog, but do not amplify their state either. Let them greet you. Breathe. Move slowly. Speak in a low, calm tone. Wait for them to settle even slightly, and then give that calm, quiet affection. What you are doing in that moment is teaching their nervous system something profoundly important. You are teaching them that coming down from excitement is safe. That calm is rewarding. That there is a stable landing place they can always return to. And over time, that lesson rewires the brain. When your dog makes a mistake, resist the urge to react with loud frustration. That spike of energy from you does not teach them what you want them to learn. It just adds chaos to an already confused moment. Instead, remove the dog from the situation, redirect them calmly, and move on. The correction should be quiet and clear, not emotional and explosive. When you do training, keep your energy steady. Dogs learn best not when you are cheerleading them into excitement, but when you are calm and clear. Praise warmly, not frantically. Reward with calm confidence, not spiraling excitement. The goal is to keep their brain in what psychologists call the learning window, not too flat and disengaged, not too spiked and overwhelmed. Right in the middle, calm, alert, and present. And here is something that will really open your eyes. When you start showing up this way, something magical happens. Your dog does not become less bonded to you. They become more bonded, because now they actually trust you at a deep neurological level. Before, they may have loved being around you because you were exciting. Now they love being around you because you make them feel safe. And that shift, from exciting to safe, is the foundation of a truly healthy human-dog relationship. But here is the deepest insight of all, the one I want to leave you with. The reason this one mistake, this single behavioral pattern of emotional overstimulation ruins so many dogs is not just because of what it does to the dog. It is because of what it reveals about how most of us misunderstand what dogs actually need from us. We think they need our excitement. We think they need our constant emotional engagement. We think love looks like matching their energy, celebrating every little thing, never letting a quiet moment pass without filling it with attention and affection. And that is a fundamentally human way of thinking. But your dog is not a human. Your dog needs you to be their anchor, not their mirror, not their hype partner. Their anchor. The still point in the center of a spinning world. The presence that never gets rattled. The being they can always look to and think, everything is okay. When you become that for your dog, when you genuinely embody that calm, grounded, emotionally steady energy, you will be stunned by what happens. You will meet a version of your dog you have never seen before. A dog who is calmer, more focused, more responsive, more joyful in a quiet and sustainable way. A dog whose brain is finally free to just be a dog. Not a dog trying to regulate an unregulated environment. Not a dog spinning in emotional overdrive. Just a dog, living peacefully, securely, in the presence of the one person in the world they love most. That is what your dog deserves. That is what this one small shift can give them. And it starts today, with the very next moment you spend with your dog. If this changed the way you think about your relationship with your dog, I want you to share this with one person who has a dog and loves them deeply. Because chances are, they are making this same mistake right now, and they have no idea. And if you want to keep going deeper into dog psychology and understanding what your dog is really telling you every single day, make sure you subscribe and watch the next video, because there is so much more your dog needs you to know.